Hey guys, how's it going? We have a trailer load of beautiful plants to put in the ground today. And it's the first day that feels like we're actually in spring. Like the sun is out, it feels warm, like maybe I don't even need a sweater today. And there's daffodils about ready to pop open. I mean, it's starting to really shape up around here a little bit. I'm seeing some growth on things, like some perennials push and the weeds are growing, you know, as they do earlier than anything else. But look at all of these beautiful plants. So some of these you have seen. We picked them up in a video not long ago. Like this is the Helen von Stein lamb's ear, wonderful perennial, super soft, sagey green. It grows 8 to 10 inches tall, 12 to 18 inches wide, zone 4, drought tolerant, all the good things. I just appreciate this so much. Like when you have it in, you can see right here, when you have it in with other things with finer foliage, it just provides that weight and that bulk that I think every space needs. Now this is one I picked up yesterday. This is the Tempo Rose Geum. I haven't seen a geum this color before, and you can see one of the flowers. So gorgeous, like a smoky pink color. This one grows upwards of 20 inches tall and a foot wide, and it is a zone 5, and it blooms for a really long time. And these are a really fun flower, especially for like a cottagey type garden. My mom and I were just looking at the shape of the leaves. What do they look like? Kind of lady's mantle-ish, but just very unique. And then we've got the Soapwort, which is the really beautiful late spring blooming ground cover. We had this behind the gazebo and I did not get it moved in time, so I'm excited to add this in. What are the stats on this? So 4 to 8 inches tall, 2 feet wide, zone 4, drought tolerant. It's an amazing one. Late spring, early summer, I think, for blooms. And then we've got the Georgia Blue Veronica or Speedwell. You can see right now that it is in bloom. Now, it's blooming a little bit ahead of schedule. Like if it was already planted in my garden, it would not be in bloom quite yet. But this one grows about 6 inches tall, 18 inches wide, zone 4, evergreen, and it turns bright red in the fall. I think that pretty much is a 4-season interest plant right there. I've got, I think, 5 or 6 of those. I'm excited to plant those in mass somewhere. Right up here, now this is one I've used and shown a lot in spring containers already this year. This is that Saxifraga Alpino early Picotee, and it's looking a little bit, oh, sorry, I heard some noise. Samantha is swinging right now. Do you see her over there? Aaron's pushing her on the swing. Anyway, it's looking a little bit weary because it's been in a very warm greenhouse and this one wants to be outside. It is a zone 4, grows 6 to 10 inches tall, blooms spring through summer, and it's just got a really interesting look to it. The leaf structure is really interesting. I think this would be really pretty in a lot of different applications. Then this one right here, this is the cutest evergreen. It's so soft. It is a blue shag eastern white pine, and I kept walking by this one down at the garden center and I kept thinking how cute it was, and so I finally just did it. I just picked it up. It's a small growing, so 4 foot by 4 foot. It'll just be a nice little sphere and a beautiful evergreen accent. And then this is something I wanted a ton more of in our garden. These are the Arctic Fire Yellow Dogwoods. They grow 4 to 5 feet tall and wide. You can see I already have 3 in this bed, but they add such a tremendous amount of beauty to our garden spaces in the winter, and I like it that it's different than the red stems. I also like the red stems. I've got 5 over there, but these are so bright. They add such a bright pop of color. And this time of year, especially those of us who are still like pretty early spring in terms of the way our gardens look, it's a great time to plant for winter interest because we're still seeing the bones of our gardens, but you can get your hands maybe on some plants. So you can really see where you need to add some things like this in, and you can see what it's going to look like next winter for you, which is kind of unique. You know, when you're planting these things later in the spring or in the summer or fall when they have leaves on them, you can't really get that winter interest look when they have leaves. Anyway, I think these are a zone 2 through 7. No, 2 through 8. Dang. Yeah, super duper tough. Just absolutely gorgeous. I'm thinking I want to add some more back in there to kind of like draw your eye back. I've got my starter fertilizer here, and I've got 2 different sizes of auger. We've got our 9-inch. These are the Power Planter augers. We will link them down below. So the 9-inch, and then I think this is a 4-inch. But these are the 2 sizes I'm going to need today. You know, for the bigger ones, I'll use the 9-inch, and then all the rest of them, I will probably be able to get away with the 4-inch. The type of drill this is a cement mixer drill. When we initially started using the bigger augers, like the 7 and 9-inch size, we had a stud and joist drill because that's all that was available for those big augers. and it was such a heavy machine. I could barely do it. So they came out with the cement mixer maybe a year or two after we started using the stud and joist drill. It is makes such a difference. It's so much lighter and it's easier to manage. Like, it's just less bulky. I do know that DeWalt's out of those. They're trying to get them back in stock. I don't think it'll be until May though. So just in case you are looking for one, you may not be able to get your hands on one until sometime in May. So I'm just gonna work on getting these all in the ground, and then we'll take a look at where they all ended up. I'm gonna have to try my hardest not to group them all in the same spot. They're all so pretty together right here. But let's just start real quick with this one because I think I see a spot. I think I see a spot. There's spots everywhere. I don't have any evergreen interest right here. I think that might look really pretty. Or, hang on. That's nice. I've got a bunch of daisies here. There's a coral berry. There's a bunch of echinacea that I'm going to add more of probably here this year. Might be kind of nice to have, you know, from this view, a little evergreen tucked in. Can't do anything too big because of the crabapple. Okay, let's get to work on it and then I'll show you. Almost done. I've got everything planted except for the saxifraga, which I think I'm going to take to the other side of the south garden. So let's take a walk through this area and see where everything ended up. You can see a number of them just from this view here. We've got the pine here and then a little grouping of perennials and the yellow twig dogwoods. I decided to bump that pine back, kind of behind the crabapple, because when the coral berry is in season, it has a sphere shape, and then so does that pine, and I didn't really want those two structures so close to each other. I kind of want something a little bit spikier in between so that our textural, so it changes, you know. I don't have too many of the same thing, but I really love how this looks right here, and I did plant it high. We found, especially in this corner of the garden, we have such hard pan soil here that planting, especially the evergreens high, has been beneficial. It just helps the water not settle in toward the crown of the plant. It helps facilitate drainage a little bit easier, especially when that soil is already holding on to quite a bit of moisture. It kind of looks all by itself right now, but I do have some tulips coming up in this area. There's cannot remember what that shrub is called right there, but we will be filling in this area quite a lot this year. So it will have neighbors very soon. And then look at this little grouping of perennials. Now, I didn't harden these lamb's ear off. They were in the greenhouse, so they're going to droop just a little bit, but they are very tough plants. So I've got 2 of the Veronica right here, and then 3 tucked in right there. I didn't want all the ground covers grouped in one spot. I kind of want those just here and there, working their way kind of in between plants. We've got the drift of Geum right here, which they only get 10 to 12 inches wide. So I wanted to make sure that those would look like a group and not too separate. That's the thing in here. I don't want there to be a ton of soil space showing, because if we deck it out with plants, we'll deal with far less need to mulch and far less need to weed. It was like that in our old garden. It was a blank slate when we moved in, and it was small. It was a townhouse sized garden. I think it was like, was it 1/6 of an acre? Maybe even less than that. Anyway, it was blank, you know, there was a lot of space for weeds to grow. And as I developed the garden and packed it out with stuff, I barely had to weed anything ever, which was amazing. And doesn't it look nice to have that lamb's ear in between those 2 like the Veronica and the Geum. It just provides that break. I love it. And then look at those yellow twigs. Don't those just illuminate the space? That's what they do. They illuminate the winter garden. I just love them. Now this is a purple lilac that I will be training into a tree form. And I think that that will be perfect because these will still get morning sun from this direction here. And there really isn't a lot that's big around it yet. But when it does get bigger, and if it does provide some shade for these two, dogwoods are one of the most shade tolerant shrubs out there. They may not be quite as productive in the bloom department, but that's not why I'm growing them anyway. I want them for their stem color, mostly. I think I left the tag on. Yeah, this is a, President Lincoln French hybrid. Oh. And this one's gonna provide a little bit of a show this year. I'm so excited. Doesn't it just look so fresh to see those buds, the sharp lines of the rocks, and the fresh plants. Oh, I love it. And then this corner, which looks kind of like a mess right now, is kind of the corner where all of our stuff meets. You know, there's a box here, which you can't hardly see, but there is a lid there. There's 2 drip zone availabilities right there, and then boxes just all over the place. And then of course our water access. This spot does surprisingly fill up. I was just in love with this space by the end of the season. I've got the lavender, is it lavender crush hibiscus? There's some limelight prime hydrangeas. There's some buddleias, Miss Ruby. It's all pink. So there's pink Veronica, pink salvia. We do have purple. There is some denim and lace Russian sage. That's a very cool toned area, but it's very much so summer and fall color. So I put the soapwort right in front here. It looks a little stringy right now. It's been in the hot greenhouse for a while, so it will thicken up, but it'll just kind of provide a bit of a carpet right here next to the gravel, which we do intend on having this lined with bricks at some point. Who knows when, but we'll have a nice sharp line at some point. Anyway, this will provide some earlier color right here. That nice bright pink. All right, so this is the last one we've got to plant, and we're gonna head over there. All right, so I just need to find a little space here. This flower bed is also extremely full of stuff, especially on this front side. The back side we don't have quite as much, but I want to save that to plant some taller things. But I'm just thinking of tucking these in here somewhere for a little bit of earlier color. We've got bulbs coming up. They're all over the place. We've got just bulbs everywhere. There's a whole bunch coming up all through here. I did a bunch of camassia in this area. I'm excited. I've never planted that before. There's some daffodils and a whole bunch of tulips. But I'm thinking, what if I planted some little ground covers underneath these Sesky Gold dwarf birch? Because they've got a little bit more of a yellow leaf. It might look real pretty to have something kind of going underneath them a little bit. It might look good. They might not get quite enough sun though. Oh gosh, does anybody remember what I planted under this serviceberry? Right here. I see the base of things. There's new growth coming up. What did I put? Oh, phlox. I put phlox here. You know what? I think I'm going to tuck them in right here by the daylilies. It's a very different texture, so that might look nice. And there they are. Isn't that the sweetest little grouping of plants? I ended up kind of redigging holes as I was planting them to put them a little bit closer together because these don't spread out very far. But I think this is going to be a really fun touch of color in this area earlier on in the season. And let me tell you what, I am so excited to be able to turn on our water, which I think we're going to do next week, and do all of our drip repairs so we can get fresh mulch on these beds. It's going to make everything look exponentially better than it does now. I mean, you guys know how it is when there's like leaves and stuff that we don't need to clean those leaves up. They can just sit underneath the mulch, or compost is what we use to mulch with, and it'll cover all of these brown tubes, so all you will see are the plants. I'm also really happy that I freed up some 4-inch containers because I've been just using them up this year. There's several things that seedlings I've been potting up into larger size containers as like they either need it, or if I happen to have some containers free and I feel like the seedlings would benefit from it. I mean, that's what a long cold spring will do for you. You have time all of a sudden to do those sorts of things. So anyway, I'm happy to have another stack of those containers to use. Right there. I usually try to save as many of the 4-inch squares as I can because they're so compact and tidy in their trays. Super beneficial when you're starting a bunch of seeds. Anyway guys, that is it for today's video. It was so nice to be out here. I mean, let me tell you, so nice to have the sun shining down and actually feeling warm and no wind today. It's just been a huge, huge blessing. And I feel like with the warm up, we're about ready to experience this next week. It's going to be a lot of days like that. So we'll have a lot of opportunities to get out here and plant. We've got so much to do yet to set up the cut flower garden. We're going to unearth the dahlia patch next week. I mean, we've got lots going on. So anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Hope you have a great one, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.